Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Greg's coming to you in the closing hour of 3 DEC 2020, with the reports of a wild roller coaster of events going on between the United States, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and Iran, with Iran being the essential focus of all of this. And it may not be quite what you think. There are a lot of reports that say that we're definitely going to come to blows with Iran, and yet we may not, because there are many national players here and many players within each nation pulling in many different directions. There's lots of twists and turns to this, pressures and counter pressures. There have been all kind of things on the table. So this is going to have some surprises for you. And you may ask, Greg, why do we care? Why do we matter here? What's it matter to us here in the United States? Well, of course, I've said first and foremost, we all just get out of there and leave it up to them for what happens. But the fact of the matter is, we are there. And even if we don't do anything and Israel does, we'll get the blame for it at this point. And what does it mean? Uh, and again, even with that, I mean, you would say, Greg, why do we care here in this country or anybody in any other country for that matter? For one, here in this country, we may have extra vulnerabilities. I talk about our power grid. I talk about vulnerabilities of our power grid. You can see that red sign back there. That's the power podium placard for the two power grid defense conferences I chaired. And Iran has it in a military doctrine to take down our grid should we get into it with them, or if they think that we're getting into it with them. If they're convinced that we're going to hit them, they might do something preemptively, perhaps, or in retribution, maybe. But then again, maybe they won't even respond to what Israel is doing. Israel seems to be kicking their can hard. We're going to go in all of that. And how are they getting away with it? Well, Israel's got them in a way. And they got them in such a way that one has to wonder if Israel is actually got a plan to take down the regime of the Ayatollahs. Iran is in a vice, but in a way, so is Israel. So it's kind of like they got each other in a bit of a chokehold, although they haven't gone to direct blows, but they're kind of beating all around the edges pretty hard. Yeah, I don't know. You might say, yeah, I guess there are direct blows. We're going to go into that, and when we put it all together, you're going to be surprised by some of these things, and just the intensity of what's happening there, and it's very intense actually, and why it may come to a climax now. So again, we got to worry about our grid. But moreover than that, Israel is reputed to have something like 200 nuclear weapons. Uh, there are reports I've had that suggested to me that Iran has had two ever since the Soviet Union fell. And now we're going to hear reports of how they were up and about to try to manufacture, yes, no less than six. All that's coming to what I'm about to tell you. And as you well may know, I have reported in the past about reports that said that even if there was 100 small devices, such as little boys, used by the United States against Japan in a war like that, that we could have a nuclear winter that would affect everybody. So we all have a stake in this. And also, these events are ugly. However you want to slice it or dice it, there is good people in every country on earth, good people with good hearts that mean well, that are just caught up in all this. There are innocent people all over the world in every society, and a lot of them are smart people with good hearts, and they're just there, and they will suffer. We may suffer. The pygmies in the jungles in the Congo may suffer from this. They're probably a little warmer than some of the others, but my friends, there's a lot at stake here. So, many of you are probably aware and have heard about the assassination of Moshen Fakhirzadeh. And pardon me if my redneck Persian Farsi is a little rusty, if my words get a bit crusty, but I will try to say them as best I can. And I think that's pretty close. Fakhirzadeh. Anyway, so he was Iran's leading nuclear scientist. Some say the father of their weapons program. And of course, some of you know he was assassinated last Friday in a most unusual fashion by very sophisticated means. And Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, vowed retaliation. And he said, well, this cannot happen again. There can't be any more of these assassinations. Just right after that, just a day or two later, somewhere between Saturday and Sunday, on the border of Iraq and Syria, a drone took out a head revolutionary Guard commander. Yes, his name was Muslim Sadeh. And so it was like, hit this one and hit this one, hit this one. And you say, oh, we're going to retaliate. And then Israel just jumps over and hits this guy. So really? Okay. Well, what are you going to do now? And nothing. Why? Why nothing? We're going to go into that. We're going to talk about these things. And some my fellow YouTube channels say, oh, yeah, this the men are going to have a big bash. Maybe. Maybe not. Either event, you know, my friends, you need to get ready. You need to prepare for what's coming because it can affect us here. There's going to be shoes dropping, and there's only so many shoes that can drop. So we're going to, some of the things here is going to have you surprised. But Scott, these events have had some people asking questions, asking if the United States is in cahoots with Israel and even Saudi Arabia to try to prompt Iran to strike Israel in some fashion to give Israel an excuse to retaliate, to take out the nuclear facilities there in Iran. That's what a lot of the question has been about. It's more complex than all of that. But my friends, listen, I bring this to you in my series of keeping eyes wide open and head on a swivel. I'm not saying it's this or it's that. I'm painting to you the tensions in the world today and the reasons why you must get ready, why you must prepare. And I got to tell you that I'm going to be bringing you more of these kind of stories as they come along. This one's been very complicated. I have scanned actually probably 2 or 3 dozen articles about this from many, many sources, including international sources, to try to get at what's going on here. And it's very complex. Every time I thought I was ready to do a video on it, other things would come up and I'd have to do a little bit more research. So I'm trying to distill this and package it in a way that you can understand and understand why it means something to you. And I'll do these things for you. But I also go beyond this. I show you how to eat out of the trees and weeds out in the woods, you know, if you have to go on maneuvers. I tell you to store your food. I've been to the box stores and told you to get stuff here. I'm talking about these things. I'm going to go more into that in the very near future about how canned goods can really be expected to last a very long time and how to inspect them for that. I did my Bugout video, actually a couple of them, and I'll probably do more along that series about safe zones, what's safe, what's not. I've done videos about gardening, about silent hunting, about worm farming. You know, worm farming is a base thing that you need if you're going to sustain your homestead and grow your own food without having to go to town to buy chemicals and nasty stuff you shouldn't be getting in the first place. That's what you ought to be doing for organic growing in your health, even if the whole world is peaceful lilies and lambs and ponies running around forever and ever. That'd be nice. One can only hope. One should always hope for the best, pray for the best, and prep for the worst. And in line of that, I'm going to say, for to get more of these videos, to understand what I'm talking about, subscribe to my channel if you've not already done so. Bang the update notification bell and click off. But come back occasionally and make sure you actually send the videos, because the platform sometimes just kind of holds things back a little bit. But you do need to get ready. You need to prepare. And right now I got a great deal real quick. I'm going to show you. Right now we got $100 off a 4-week supply of long-lasting food. This is half of it. You get 2 buckets like this, and it's $100 off. Go to prepwithgreg.com. You get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And with this deal, you'll be a winner because you get 2,000 calories per day, and it's real food. It's not MREs. It is, fortunately, freeze-dried, so it lasts a long time, and it's lightweight. It's easy to move around. Unlike some videos I've seen of people just struggling to push across the threshold, right? They're equivalent to that. And the buckets are great because you can use them for so many things and prepping after you use the food. And then it comes in these nice little pouches. You can open it up and put it in your backpack, any Bugout bag, and poof, off you go. And you're set to go. All right, enough of that. Prepwithgreg.com. Just remember, prepwithgreg.com. $100 off, 4-week supply. I got mine. Get yours. Now, let's get back to what we're talking about here. So, some people have got to ask, you know, Trump has spent 4 years in a intense vendetta with Iran, and he's had this philosophy of maximum pressure. Is this approaching a climax right now, especially before he leaves office? Israel is very uneasy with what may come after this, especially considering their concerns about Iran having cheated under the previous agreement and the possibility of them actually getting nuclear devices. And maybe if Iran hadn't made threats to wipe them off the map, they wouldn't be so concerned. Nah, they would. And whether their concerns are legitimate or not, they're still concerned, and they would be. And I'll show you some of the. I'll show you a map shortly that kind of dictates only two things could totally wipe. Two devices is all it would take to totally wipe Israel out. Yeah, they got 200 to defend themselves with, but you know, an adversary would only need 2 against them, not 6. And I'll show you why shortly. Anyway, so there was this unprecedented meeting last week in between United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Prime Minister of Israel Netanyahu, and with the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. And the funny thing is, the topic is very closely guarded, secret. We don't know what they discussed, but this is a very high-level meeting between Saudi Arabia, United States, and Israel. And because it's been hush-hush, it's done nothing but span conspiracy theories as to what it was all about, what's to come out of it. Did they agree to intensify the efforts to provoke Iran to attack Israel? That's what some people think, that make this happen before Trump leaves office. And the 20th of January, a regime, you know, a president might be more favorable to Israel or the United States taking action. You know, we just put a fleet of B-52s over there, B-52 Stratofortresses in Qatar, however you want to say it. Okay, yeah, well, Arabic needs a little work there too, right? But the meeting was held in Neom, and supposedly even the occurrence of the meeting was secret, but it was leaked according to some. And some speculated it was leaked just to put the Biden administration on notice that any move they might make toward having a, you know, revitalization of the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action would be met with stiff, fierce resistance. I mean, that's kind of the thinking as to why it was leaked, because Saudi Arabia don't want to go there, or Israel don't want to go there. But we'll talk more about that, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and what's happening with that, and may happen with that. But you got to remember, as I presented in a video recently, President Trump did convene a meeting of his cabinet to discuss possibly striking Iran when it was revealed that the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, had done a report and suggested that the stockpiles of low-enriched uranium in Iran is now 12 times what it should have been according to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. That they went way over and above what the level was called for in there. And, you know, that caused them to convene a meeting and consider, what are we going to do anything? And of course, supposedly the answer, we're not going to do anything. It's just a bad idea. We're not going to strike them. Was that really the outcome of that? Interesting. Some people had suggested that Trump had to be calmed down to that, and others said, no, he didn't. But we don't even know really what the outcome of that meeting was. So here's the other interesting thing. So after all of that, all this tension building up, reportedly Trump has just given up on Iranian policy. Just, okay, I give up. And he says, Mike Pompeo, and here's the U.S. Secretary of State, of course, you can do anything you want with Iran, just so long as it don't start World War III. Really? That is what's alleged, that President Trump just went to Mike Pompeo and said, okay, I give up. Do anything you want to with Iran, just so long as it don't start World War III. Okay, World War III is involving Russia, China, which are allies with Iran. Does this preclude a direct war with Iran? Is that shy of World War III? Is that on the table? What does that mean? We have forces in play there. I mean, we're getting people at risk out of Iraq right now. Are we prepping to get ready? Some people speculate that we are. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. And, you know, is it up to Mike Pompeo? Really? What do you think? A president would just advocate such a big responsibility, or is this a smokescreen? just like the meeting in Neon. Was that smoke screen? Was the cabinet meeting smoke screen? If so, what's behind the smoke? If you blow all the smoke away, what's there? And and even though it seems like we're really trying hard to goad Iran into attacking Israel, there is a counterpoint against that too. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So maybe that's not the case either. Just hang on, guys. This is a twisty roller coaster ride, okay? So after earlier reports on Press TV, which is the Iranian press, it said that on 30 November, it talked about these attacks on Fakhirzadeh, and it said that they had remote controlled machine guns in the back of a pickup truck. The whole thing was remote controlled. There were no people there. It was all electronic equipment, high-end, sophisticated electronic equipment. And a Nissan truck was remotely detonated. So this whole thing was sophisticatedly controlled and monitored. It wasn't just like it was automatic. Somebody was monitoring it, remote control, like we fly a drone around, except they had emplacements on the ground. So they got it there. But they claim also that the weapons were Israeli. So this gets it starts getting very, very, very complicated. But let's add to it. Let's put some more fuel to this fire. Actually, Israel seems to be kicking Iran's can. I mean, kicking them left and right and getting away with it. Not just taking out Fakhirzadeh and the commander there at the Revolutionary Guard on the Syrian-Iraqi border. There's more to it. Oh, they've been doing stuff for months in Iran. All kind of things, operations directly in Iran. But this assassination took place actually just east of Tehran, the capital of the nation. And this was the third high-level, Fakhirzadeh, when he was taken out, was the third high-level assassination in a year. It was Soleimani before that. And some people speculate that, supposedly Trump did it and we did it in the United States, but some saying really the Israelis did it. And Trump might have gave it a green light. He took credit for it, but it may have been the Israelis that actually did that operation too. I don't know. That's just, there's a lot of speculation swirling, my friends, lots of speculation swirling. But the fact that all these things, were followed immediately by the taking out and assassination of Commander Muslin that I just mentioned. But see, all this follows an entire summer of mystery explosions in Iran. And I talked about this. I did this in another video. I talked about these mystery explosions that were taking place all around Iran with at their nuclear enrichment facilities, at their missile production facilities, missile sites, petrochemical factories, power plants, medical facilities, and clinics. I already did a report on all this stuff. And I reported on I think I was a breaking YouTube channel, mainly because I got this information from my Secure the Grid activities that I'm directly in support of. And I found out about it. It took me a little bit to get it all online. I had some trouble getting my video out, but I knew about this stuff. And in fact, it had been going on for some time. I'm going to show you a little bit about that in a moment too. We're going to go look at a couple things here in a few minutes. So, but the problem is that this exposes huge holes in Iranian intelligence capabilities, like drive Mack trucks through it kind of holes left and right and not even be seen. Can you sneak a legion under their nose and not see it? I mean, guys, this is a division, not that much, but there's huge, huge holes in the Iranian intelligence. Now, part of it is because Iran has people at home who would like to overthrow the regime. And of course, the Mossad spends almost all the resources in Iran because they consider Iran to be a big threat. Again, I'm going to get showing you a little bit of why that may be. Of course, there is the letter that I mentioned in a previous video, written by Albert Pike, which seemed to outline where we're at now, but that's another matter. All this might have been, was all this planned long ago? Anyway, just so happens that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu exposed Fakhirzadeh as the father of the Iranian nuclear weapons program. He was supposed to be a secret individual. We weren't supposed to know about him. He was kept quiet. But when he was taken out, he was suddenly made a martyr. But he exposed this individual as the father of the Iranian nuclear weapons program. And he said Fakhirzadeh was the head, actually, of something called the Ahmad program and projects 110 and 111. And that, in fact, Iran had strove to develop 6 or more nuclear bombs in these programs. Now, what you may not know is the Israelis had an intel operation back in 2018. And in fact, Netanyahu did a video on this back in 2018. He showed just bookcases, the documents, and the CDs, and all these things in that video. Quite a few. I've seen this video. And this intel op actually found thousands of documents, thousands and thousands of documents, proving, supposedly, that Iran had been lying all along about their peaceful program for power. And these documents proved, allegedly, I hadn't seen them personally, but they proved allegedly that Iran was, in fact, pursuing the development of several, 6 or more nuclear bombs. What Israel seems to be upset by now is in fact, their concerns about President Biden capitulating back to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And in fact, Biden has just put out statements, oh yeah, I'll go straight back to it. I want to immediately embrace the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And then on top of that, the Iranian Foreign Minister, Javad Zarif, says, oh yeah, Iran will fully comply. We'll go back immediately into full compliance with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So they're going to comply with that just like they did originally. I mean, you know, didn't Israel just kind of blow the cover off all that? But are we just going to sweep it under the rug and we'll forget that happened? Or what about the 12 times the low enriched uranium that they have now above and beyond that? Or are they just going to, what are they going to do with all that stuff? They're going to flush it down the commode? Put it out in the Persian Gulf, you know, well, you need that stuff in there. It's you know, uranium, enriched uranium, low enriched, but it's still enriched uranium. It's highly radioactive. What do you do with this stuff? They're just going to give it to some international agency, to Israel, to Europe, to America, to China, Russia, divide. No, I don't know, friends. This is complex. Can you believe them? Can you follow it? Can you believe any of these players? Frankly, any of them. What's cooking? What's can cook? Are we going to send pallets of cash on an airplane to Iran again? I doubt that, but hey, I don't know. We certainly did before. Some people, well, that was Iran's. Well, do we have to give them give it to them as a means to keep enriching their programs? I don't know. So there's a whole lot of speculation, going on. So what I want to say about these things is this. Here's the surprise. Because Israel has been able to operate seemingly so freely in Iran to perform assassinations, to blow up key secure facilities left and right, bang, 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 bang. There are reports that through back channels, Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, and whatever else they got up their sleeve, has told the Iranian leadership, he says, hey, we've got each one of you monitored. We know where you're at. We know how to take you out, and that's what we'll do. So you do anything, we're going to take you all out. Is that true? Could they? Would they? Better yet, does the Iranian leadership believe it? You know, they tell them they can get to any of them. We can get to any of you. We can take any one of you out. We can get to you. We can take any one or all of you out. We've got it covered. We're there. That's what's been alleged. And maybe that is why Iran has cooled their heels on some of the retaliatory language they had put out. You know, they had said, hey, we'll hit Haifa. You know, they said, we'll strike this, we'll strike that. And we won't let you do this again, but Israelis did it again, like the military commander. And it's like, you know, nothing happened. Of course, now, as you know, the Iranians are saying, oh, now we know exactly who we did it, so we're going to have some measured response. And maybe they will. What will it be? How big a measure will it be? Of course, they're also at risk because they're losing face. And in their part of the world, face is everything. So the regime is at great risk just from losing face. So what's going to happen? How is all this stuff going to play out? Good question. But even if Iran backed down and didn't commit to the strikes they said they would do, some of these things that were called for by their supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, not Khomeini, but Khamenei. Khomeini was the original Ayatollah that became the head supreme leader of Iran, as you may know, after the revolution. They took our hostages, as you might recall. But here's the problem. Shia militias, well, one potential thing. Like I said, there's many players in this. Shia militias in Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon actually have said they will strike. So, okay, we'll strike. Well, they might. They might do it as proxies, or they just might do it independently. And in fact, one said this. He says, we will strike as thunder at the killers of this oppressed martyr. And that was vowed by Hossein oh shoot, can't pronounce this. Degana, oh shoot, forget it. Deghgh. Yeah, that's tough. A-N-A. Yeah, you get too many H's and G's in there. That's just a little bit rough for my redneck Farsi tongue. But he's one of these senior militia commanders. And Iran's president, Rouhani, accused Israel of acting as a stooge for the United States. And like I said, whatever Israel does, we're liable to get the blame for it. And he said that basically they were just, our mercenaries over there. And he said that Iran will seek revenge in due time and will not be lured into a trap. So Iran could retaliate in any number of ways. There are articles out there now talking about how they could respond with various missile strikes, how they could do low key, high key, and look how they've hit oil facilities in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Saudi Arabia has been hit a few times by Iranian proxies, and it's probably chomping at the bit and would love to get back at them. So Saudi Arabia is in this. They're also in it, yes. And also there is, of course, all these front groups, all the proxies that are out there. And there's also been suggestions, and Israel has told their people abroad to be very careful that Iran would hit Israelis abroad in other countries. So what would it take for Israel to hit back, for this to go tit for tat and continue to escalate? Would it? Could it? Is that the intention? Israel does not want Iran to have these capabilities. And they fear that after the 20th of January, they don't have many options left. So they feel that they want to pull something and pull it now. Will they? What will they do? Will they even create a false flag to enable them to do something, even if Iran does hold back? What's going to happen here? It's just hard to say. So, and again, Greg, what does it matter? Israel's got 200 of these devices. Okay, well, I'm going to do some more sharing here. We're going to do some little sharing. We're going to go to look at Israel. Bam. This is the nation of Israel. And this shows the population density. And indeed, especially in some of these other areas where we show a lot of population, is actually Palestinian. Most of the Israeli population, the Jewish population, Hebrew or Jewish population in Israel, live around Haifa and Tel Aviv. They probably wouldn't want to strike Jerusalem, as it has, a lot of Palestinians, Arabs, Muslim. This is a Muslim holy site, a Christian holy site, and a Jewish holy site. So maybe they won't strike, I said maybe, Jerusalem. But this is where the people are, just two sites. That's why I said 2 devices would totally annihilate Israel, just 2. Iran was supposedly developing 6. And I said already in this video that in other videos before, it's been alleged that when the Soviet Union fell, they got two devices, two complete missiles actually with nuclear warheads from Kazakhstan. If you may remember, shortly after the wall fell, suddenly Kazakhstan decided they didn't need their stuff and it was all taken back by Russia. Not immediately, but the report I had, that's why that happened, is they realized they couldn't control them and that there was danger involved in that two of these devices got away. This was told to me by someone who has good sources, but supposedly it's classified, but I didn't get it that way. Not how I received this information, and it may not be true. So I'm just telling you what I heard. It's alleged, but it's plausible. We know that a lot of stuff went on the black market when the Soviet Union fell, and there's still stuff out there on the black market. There were entire weapons areas and areas with nuclear fuel, bomb grade type materials, and lowly enriched materials of various grades just out there, totally unsecured. In fact, some of the Russians were trying to swap it for refrigerators. And this is why, under Bill Clinton, we repackaged what had been the Space Station Freedom Program, which I was working on, and turned it into the National Space Station and brought the Russians in, was to try to give these Russian scientists something to do, to get a little money for. And we actually paid them ourselves so they wouldn't be tempted to go out and spreading this nuclear stuff. Also on the deal, Russia wasn't supposed to build a nuclear power plant in Iran. See how these deals with these people go? Yeah, we make all these deals. Don't do that. We'll give you this if you don't do that, and then go ahead and do it anyway. Okay. We're just not too good at this deal making, are we? Interesting, right? Hey, well, let me show these explosions. Boom. Here's some of these mystery explosions here. See, it's actually on Wikipedia, 2020 Iran explosions. Check it out. That's all you got to search for. The Parchin explosion and Shiraz blackout, the Tehran clinic explosion, that's in the capital city, the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility explosion, and just on and on, Tehran explosions, petrochemical plant, and just on and on and on, pipeline, power plant, yeah, and maybe more. That's the major ones. But Iran is a very powerful force. They have 650,000 active duty, and according to this, over 1 million reserves of people they could call it. But if you look here, their active reserve, or what's counted reserve on this side, is 350,000. So I don't know how they get 350,000 over there, and over here it's 1,050,000 in reserve. But this 650,000 active says not including law enforcement. Okay, so that's actual military. So yeah, Iran is deemed to have the largest military in the region. And they're smart people. They've got resources. They've got sophisticated weapons. So they're not to be taken for granted. Don't take Iran for granted. If you do that, you are taking a real risk. So, but I don't know, Israel maybe take them for granted. They've been kicking them really, somebody's been kicking them hard over and over and over. Of course, some of this could be internal also. Like I said, there are a lot of people in Iran who do not favor the regime there. A lot of people would like to see it come down. And, we need to be careful how we deal with Iran, because we would not want to upset them and cause them to suddenly go wrap their arms around the regime because we hit them in the wrong way. So that's another risk we got to look at. We might turn people who would be our allies against us. We've had a history of messing things up in Iran really good, because Iran had a democratically elected president. Because he favored Russia, we deposed him and put in the Shah, who was hated by people in Iran. Everybody hated the Shah. He was a tyrant. He was a tyrant. And so the Khomeini took advantage of that. I told Khomeini to depose the Shah and come to power. And now look what we're dealing with. So we've created a Frankenstein monster by mucking around with things we should have left alone, which we seem to be really good with it. So we need to be very mindful how we approach these things, how we deal with it. But let's see, I'm going to do another share here. What do I want to share? Give me a second. There was one more thing I was going to show you, I thought, which is a PowerPoint file. That's it. I just got to figure out what I want to share. Give me a second. Give me just a second here. Share screen. Here we go. So these are the nuclear facilities that Israel would love to hit. Quite a few. Problem is Israel has to cross over Jordan and Iraq to get here, and Iraq has a lot of heavy Shia population, which is friendly to Iran. So this is not an easy operation for them to do. That's why they would like to pull the United States in. But if they can't, they might just go for it. They might do it on their own. But they might want some kind of a false flag to justify that, or to goad Iran into doing something to give them justification for it. I don't know, my friends. I'll bring this to you. It has many dimensions to it. As I said, there are players, United States. There are players, from different political parties. There is Israel, and Israel also has different political parties, people pulling in different directions. Iran has different people pulling in different directions inside, even within the Islamic Republic. It's not just the people who want to see it overthrown. Within the Republic itself, within the Ayatollah's regime, there is tensions that pull things in different directions, like the statements of the foreign minister, the statements of the president, the statements of various military commanders. I've seen a zillion statements. I'm not reading most of these to you because I just gave you enough already. There are people pulling in many, many different directions right now. How these shoes are going to drop is anybody's guess at the moment. We have B-52s over there. We have a lot of other stuff that are ready that could go into action. Will it happen? What will happen? Again, what's the consequences? Again, power grid is a risk. Again, maybe our climate's at risk. It might be a risk worldwide. It may not just be the United States. So a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to ponder. Pray and hope for the best. Hope that the tensions can go down, and that the people in Iran will find a way to get rid of the Ayatollahs and have once again return to having a democratically elected republic, because Iran has a lot of Western type values and would love to have a peaceful, prosperous country, as all people would, for their kids to grow up and to do better. So let's hope that we can find these things around the world. But in the meantime, you do need to prepare. You need to get ready, because this could go ugly. This is one of many things that can go ugly here in the next few years. So we know there's those that would like to impose the Great Reset on us. They want to tell us that we can't do anything, that we can't even have private property. And maybe these shutdowns that are going around are all about shutting down the small businesses, because the billionaires seem to be making all the money these days. And what we've had, like over 72,000 small businesses in the United States go out of business since March. 72,000. That's why I've been on here telling you repeatedly, vote with your dollar. It's the most important vote you'll have, and vote locally. Support your local businesses, your local artisans as much as you can, so they can retain some level of resiliency, especially autonomy, and what's the word I'm trying to reaching for here? It's sovereignty. That we're not all sucked into a big system of ginormous corporations and the government. That's where they want to take us. So we need to resist that as much as we can. So I ask you to join my Freedom Restoration Foundation. Yeah, I still haven't set that website up yet. So go to hal5space@aol.com. hal5space@aol.com, and put freedom in the subject line. And hopefully real soon I'll get this other email set up and the website. We're working it now. We've decided where to put our website. And we've decided what software to build it with, and a bunch of these things. I want to be purchasing that. I got some volunteers that's going to be working it. And so this will be forthcoming. We do have a Facebook page, a page on MeWe, just in case Facebook decides to slam us down. And we've got volunteers working these things. And we have also the tribe movement. And okay, I'm starting to make progress on that again. My apologies for like I had to, like I've been a busy puppy. And so I had a volunteer trying to organize it for me. Unfortunately, the volunteer thought the smart thing was to put everybody's in various different folders according to different states. And that just made it harder to get all the different records. And in fact, what we needed was just stick it on an Excel file, because Excel automatically sorts these things. So, okay, now we got an Excel file, at least the first edition going. We got names up to a certain point in there. I am now collating that and looking who are the most probable leads in different areas. And hopefully this weekend I'll start calling some of them, and then I'll start reaching out to the rest of you. That I'll give them the names of the people that are close to them or would want to be close to their areas, so that they can reach out to contact you about joining an organization. But I also got to give them some caveats. I got to tell them about some things to watch out for, some danger points, because they're basically welcome people on their homes and property, and there are risks associated with that, and they do need to be aware of those, so that everyone is maintained at the highest level of security and trust, and what it takes to pull the tribes together, the communities that they will be. And then we want to work toward networking these communities. And I'm thinking really we probably ought to have some close associate. I think the Freedom Restoration Foundation might be a good umbrella organization to help coordinate and facilitate a lot of this stuff, but we'll have to see if everybody's amenable to that. So that's kind of where I'm going with all this stuff. So, the whole idea, the philosophy behind that is that, a lone survivor is going to be, and lone prepper is going to be in a world of hurt, because you got to sleep sometime. And eventually, even if you're the best in the West, somebody's got a better technique with their paper wad, straw and spit wads. Eventually they'll get you if you're by yourself. Everybody has their down days, and each person only has so many skills. So community is by far stronger and more resilient. So we've got to form these communities, mag groups, whatever you want to call them. Some of you are already doing that. That's good. And I've got a few out there. And I got some new announcements coming up in the not too distant future about Arizona. I am involved in Arizona quite a bit more than you might realize. You see me over here in Alabama, but I'm going to be kind of not bi-coastal, just to dial in a few degrees. I'm still in the flyover land. I'll be at the far edges of the flyover land, though. It looks like. So more to come in the near future on that. Some of y'all might remember, it was just a year ago that I was actually out in Arizona, and I set worms out there as an experiment to grow some, and it's going well. So there's more to come. Anyway, my friends, just so I know that you watched this far, say, Greg, we're going to take care of the future. We'll hang in there. And that's the idea. Let's all hang in there and take care of the future. Take care of each other. And all I want to say now is you've been with this video for a while. It's been long, been a lot to cover. Been behind on doing videos. I've had so much to do with the holidays and things. I did have a lot of my family over, so we had a good holiday, but I've had a lot of other stuff come up. It's been busy. And this video in particular took a little extra time to do because there were so many twists and turns, and the twists and turns just keep coming out. So I was trying to do the best job for you on this video. Anyway, hope you appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to say thank y'all for watching. Bye.